Welcome in, friends, to our balance and stability class. We will be working on some toe stand today. So lots of feet work and balancing in our toe stand. Grab 2 blocks. You can always prop yourself up near a wall as well if you need a little bit extra support as we move down into this toe stand balance. Once you have your things, we'll go ahead and get started in a child's pose. We will start in our child's pose, but just have your blocks kind of ready for you towards the side of your mat. You can actually have them back towards your hips. We'll use them once we get towards the back of our mat. So big toes touch, knees out nice and wide, and then walking the arms forward, relaxing the forehead down. If you're tight in the upper body and the shoulders, actually grabbing that block and having it underneath the forehead feels kind of nice to bring the floor up to you, so that you can let the shoulders relax down and let the hips fall back towards the heels. You can take a little rock from side to side with the forehead on the mat or the block. Invite the hips to sway from right to left. We'll make our way up to our tabletop, so bring that block down by your hip again. Finding a few rounds of cat-cow. So for our cat-cow, we will tuck our toes under, so heels are lifted, trying to get all 10 toes underneath there so we can stretch out the bottom of our feet. And just find your cat-cow movement. So you inhale, lift the chest, and then exhale, round. Let's actually come back to a neutral spine. As we move through our cat-cows, I want to focus more on our hips and the hip movement more than exaggerating in that upper body and the spine. So think about just moving that tailbone. So as you inhale, you tilt the tailbone high, drop the pelvis down, and the chest naturally drops down and the upper body starts to lift just slightly. Then as you exhale, just reverse that motion, tucking the tailbone down, pressing into the earth to try to hug the belly button up and in. Your spine naturally rounds. So continue that movement, lifting the tailbone up, tilting the pelvis down. Exhale, reverse, tuck the tailbone, hug the belly button up and in. So continue focusing on that exaggerated movement in the pelvis. And then if you'd like, you can add on a little bit more. So as you tilt the tailbone up as high as it can to its point of resistance, then start to draw the chest up and draw the chin in. And reverse, exhale, round. Now tucking the chin, rounding in the spine. 2 more rounds of breath, finding whatever movement works for you. Now finding that neutral spine, our toes are still tucked. Start to walk your hands back towards your knees and sink your hips onto your heels, stretching out the bottoms of our feet here. So maybe reach back and tuck all 10 toes under. My pinky toes start to splay out to the side. Adjust however you need to. So maybe you need to walk your feet and your knees in a little bit closer so you can really tuck the heels underneath the hips. And then reach the arms nice and high. Exhale, just taking a gentle twist to the right, landing your hands wherever it's comfortable for you. Right hand can be on the low back. And then coming back through center, twisting off to the left. Come through center. One more time each side. Back through center. One more time to the left. And come through center. Release your arms down by your side. Go ahead and grab on to your blocks. The bottoms of the feet are really starting to fire up now. Bringing your blocks on either side of your knees. We'll take an inhale, lift the chest. As we exhale, bring your hands down onto the blocks, press into the blocks and try to lift your knees up, sinking your hips back, hovering your heels over the mat. And then if you want a little bit more, you're reaching your arms forward to lift the chest. And then bringing the hands back down, release the knees. We'll lift up onto the knees, untuck the toes, and give them a little bit of a tap. Oh yeah. Feeling that blood flow come back in. All right, retuck the toes. Sink the hips back, hands onto the blocks. Lift the knees, maybe even if it's just 1 inch or you're starting to sink the heels back, and lift the chest. Release the hands, release the knees, lift on up, gentle tap to the toes. We'll go one more time through that. So tuck the toes, sink the hips back, plant the hands, lift the knees, maybe sink all the way back. You can keep your hands right here, or again, you're bringing your hands up and hovering the chest. Take one more big breath right here. And then we'll move into a forward fold, so you can bring your hands back down as you lift the hips, finding our ragdoll, sway from side to side, bending into one knee then the other, shaking that out. And then leave those blocks where they are. Maybe even bring them back actually a little bit closer to the feet, and you can bring them onto the taller side. Take an inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, fold. Start to round yourself up to stand. We're gonna work on lowering down into a toe stand, so a little bit more feet work here. If you like your feet close together, that's totally fine. If you need a little bit more stability and balance, you're bringing your feet underneath your hips here. Arms can be up overhead for a little bit of a challenge, or hands at heart center, or if you're near a wall, gently resting your fingertips on the wall for a balance assistance. As we lift up onto the toes, lift the heels, squeeze the calves, squeeze the glutes, hug the belly up and in, engaging in the core. Again, arms wherever it's comfortable for you, focusing forward on a spot that's not moving, feeling that shake in the ankles, the lower body. Now start to send the shins forward, the knees forward as you start to drop your hips. So don't let your knees come out to the side. Keep them straight forward in front of you as you start to lower nice and slow. This is where the blocks can come in handy on either side so that you can lower down into those blocks, or you're reaching your arms forward. See if you can send the knees down and forward as you draw the chest up and back. Oh yeah. And then forward fold. Let that go. Inhale, halfway lift. Ouch. Exhale, fold. See if you can slide your blocks forward towards the top of your mat. Super graceful, I know. Walking our hands forward into a high plank. And then just send your hips up and back. Come up high onto your toes. Lift your right leg high to a three-legged dog. And then step your right foot about 1 foot in front of the left. Stay high on the right toes. Keep your hands where they are. Maybe even bring your hands to blocks as you lift the left leg high. Step your left foot about 1 foot in front of the right. You can come up onto your fingertips now. Keep your left heel lifted as you reach the right leg high. And then step the right foot forward. Find yourself in that forward fold at the top of your mat. Slowly start to round on up to stand. Lengthen and reach, shake out the legs. And then forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands, high plank. And downward facing dog. Doing that over to the other side. Come up high onto the toes. Keep your right foot on the ground. Lift your left leg high. And then step your left foot about 1 foot in front of the right. Keep the heel lifted. Keep the hands where they are if you can. Reach your right leg high. Step that right foot forward about 1 foot. Keep the heel lifted. Maybe you come up onto blocks. Left leg goes high. Step your left foot forward. Right foot meets your left. Let that go. Shake it out. Come into some deep squats. Letting those hips go. Lots of feet work. IT band, outer hip area. All right. Now let's heel toe our feet to touch if you can. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Let's round ourselves up to stand, working into our chair pose, getting more into some external hip rotations to get ready to come down into that toe stand with our tree legs. So arms go up nice and high, squeeze the inner thighs, and start to sink down into our chair pose. Try to tuck the tailbone down towards the ground, hug the low belly up and in. Hands can be at heart center. If you want to just work on the lower body here. If you can, again, if you're near a wall, start to shift the weight into the toes, lift the heels, see if you can sink your hips down 1 more inch, squeeze the inner thighs, chest is up. Release the heels down, single leg Tadasana, keep the right foot on the ground as you lift the left knee up and in towards the chest. Find that balance first. Spot in front of you that's not moving. See if you can drop the left hip down. And from here, moving into our figure 4 chair, cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh and sink down into that chair shape. Trying to send your left knee down and away from you. I even like to bring my left hand just gently on the thigh to remind that leg to drop down towards the ground and draw my chest up and back. Take 1 more breath here. See if you can find some depth. And then rise back up to that single leg Tadasana. Find that balance. Hinging forward at the hips to send the left leg back. We're coming into a lunge. So slowly releasing your hands down to the blocks or the ground. And then toe stand skandasana to the back of the mat. Bring your blocks if you need to. Walk your hands to the left. Lift onto the left toes as you sink low into your skandasana shape. Typically, I'll cue skandasana to keep your heel on the ground, working on that ankle mobility. But for today, since we're working on toe stand, we're gonna keep that heel lifted as we sink down and work on our balance with the weight in the left toes. So if you can, lift your hands up off of the ground or the wall to bring your hands into heart center, lifting that chest up, finding length in the spine. Release your hands down, walk them through center. Just find a quick wide leg forward fold. Sorry for the view. Hopefully you're just gazing down at your mat. Take an inhale, halfway lift. Then low lunge to the front of the mat. Pause here for a moment. Step the left foot forward, forward fold. Take a couple of those deep squats if you want to, or just hang out in Malasana, letting the hips go for a moment. And bring the feet to touch again, moving over into the other side. Take an inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Slowly rounding on up to stand, moving into that chair pose on the other side. So arms can come high, heart center, whatever works for you. Sinking low into that chair pose right away, sinking into that depth you left off on the last round. Core is nice and engaged. We're continuing to breathe here. We tend to hold our breath when we're in a posture that's a little bit uncomfortable to hold for a while. Sinking the weight back into the heels, maybe floating the toes. Moving into that toe stand. Now we shift the weight forward into the toes and lift the heels, squeeze the inner thighs, and maybe you sink the hips down 1 more inch. Chest is lifted. Release the heels down, single leg Tadasana, lift up, bringing the right knee in towards the chest. Ooh, catching your breath, finding that balance. Moving into our figure 4 chair, cross the right ankle over the left thigh. Use whatever you need to sink into the hips and guide that right knee down towards the floor to open up through the hip. Still drawing the chest up and back, sinking low into that left leg, finding that balance. Rising back up into our single leg Tadasana. Hinging at the hips, starting to slowly extend that right foot to the back of the mat, finding our low lunge, hands come down, release the right toes, then toe stand skandasana to the back of the mat. So come to the right side of your space, lift the right heel and sink down into the hip, flexing the left toes, bring the blocks if you need to, or maybe you gently hold yourself up on a wall. And as you settle in, see if you can challenge your balance and bringing the hands to heart center. And don't be afraid to adjust how your feet are. Maybe you need to lift up and turn the toes out a little bit more. Maybe walk that right leg out. Each side has a little bit of differences. So where your foot lands on your left side might not necessarily be where your foot needs to land on the right side, so on and so forth. One side might be steadier than the other. So just not being afraid to adjust to your body mechanics and where your body likes to sit and can find that balance pivot point. All right, plant the hands, wide leg fold, center of your mat. Take a moment, let that go. And then low lunge, front of the mat, find a forward fold. Phew. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your palms. We'll just step back to a downward facing dog for a moment. Pedal it out, right to left. Now from here, let's meet in the middle of our mat in a forward fold. So walk your hands back and your feet forward at the same time, and then bring your blocks with you as well. So blocks underneath the shoulders, hips forward over the ankles. And just take a moment in this ragdoll shape. Plant your hands on your blocks. You choose your height here. You want to try to take the rounding out of the spine. So even if it's that taller setting, so you can really bring the ground up to you. We're focusing on working in the lower body, but we don't want to round in the spine and put strain on the low back as we work some leg lifts here. So don't be afraid to stack those blocks up nice and high. You choose your height here, but firmly pressing into the blocks. Ground down through the right leg. Start to lift and lengthen the left leg up and back into this supported warrior 3 shape. Rotate your left hip down towards the ground. Take a big breath in. Then as you exhale, just bring your left foot to hover next to your right. So you're hugging that left hip. See if I can show you from this side. You're hugging that left hip up and in, using your hip flexor, your core strength here, still lengthening through the spine, and then send the left leg up and back again. Exhale, foot comes to a hover. Send it up and back. One more, foot comes to a hover, and send it back. I lied. Last one, foot comes to a hover, hold, and then release, forward fold. Shake it out. It's working on that hip flexor strength. All right, other side. So ground down through the left foot, nice long spine. Send the right leg up and back. Rotate the right hip down. Lengthen the crown of the head forward. As you exhale, press into the earth to bring that right foot to a hover, hugging that right hip up and in. Inhale, send it high. Exhale and hover. 2 more, send it high. And hover. Last one, send it high. And hover. I think that we're even. We'll just call that even. Hold right here. And release. Shake it out. Bend into one knee and the other. All right, so blocks out by your side, moving into our toe stand now, using our tree variation. So we've done lots of different toe stand balancing variations throughout this flow. Moving into our tree toe stand. If you take hatha classes, or if there's a vinyasa or warrior class that you are offered toe stand while you're in your tree pose, this would be helpful for you for those opportunities. I'm super awkward today. Love it. Okay, so starting with the right side. So we're grounding down through the right leg, and then we'll just find a tree pose. If you're like, tree is super hard for me still, just find that tree variation. And this is fine right here for you to just work on your balance. We've done lots of toe stand stuff already in this flow, so you can just hang out and meditate in your tree and working on that balance right there. For a traditional hatha tree is what they call it. You'll bring that left foot, the knife edge of the left foot, up to that right hip crease, and then you'll relax the left knee back down to the mat. I like to just hang on to my foot. If it stays there, you can bring both hands to heart center, totally up to you. Now from here, and if this hatha tree variation is not working for you, just come to that figure 4 right here. So slight bend in the knee. You don't have to be all the way down in our figure 4 chair. Just working on externally rotating that left hip open. So whatever variation you're choosing, if you're just hanging out in tree, stay right there, or we'll start to move into our toe stand. So first, working on hinging at the hips forward, bringing your hands down to the blocks or the earth if you can get there. Now, start to lift the right heel as you bend into the right knee, coming down on to the right toes. So in your tree variation, either that figure 4 variation or knife edge into the hip. This is great right here. You can work on bringing both hands off of the blocks. So you're resting your right booty cheek, is what I'm going to call it, on your right heel. You can stay here, or if you want to work on extending that left leg out, your left hand will grab for your left toes, and you'll unravel, send the left leg forward into this little toe stand pistol squat. Now, if you can, you will reverse all that motion or release both feet down and let that go, shake it out. Oh yeah, really feeling it on the bottom of that right foot. That's why we warm up the bottom of the feet and the toes for this intense toe stand. All right, shake it out. We'll go over into the other side and then we'll bring it down to the mat. So choosing your variation of tree, whether you're just hanging out working on balance, moving into that hatha variation, bringing the knife edge of the foot up into the left hip and offering the right knee back down, or going into your figure 4 shape. Moving into toe stand, you work on hinging at the hips first. So you're pressing the hips back as you hinge, tiny micro bend in the left knee, bringing your hands down to the blocks or the earth, whatever is working for you. Once you have your hands down to the ground or the blocks, then you start to lift the left knee, lift the left heel as you lower the hips down to the left heel. And I like to bring the blocks behind the thigh right here. So I can work on my toe stand, either bringing one or both hands to heart center, or working on extending that right toe out. So grab the big toe with your peace fingers, unravel, send the right leg forward, maybe both hands reach forward, and maybe you can even release down onto that left heel into that full pistol squat. And then whatever variation you're in, slowly making your way back out. If you have that strength to come all the way back up through your tree, then unravel by all means. Work on that. Oh, here we go. That is our toe stand. So we'll bring it back down. Go ahead and just walk towards the top of your mat. Slowly lower yourself back down onto your hips. And bring yourself down onto your back, knees into the chest. And giving yourself a little rock. Roll out the ankle, point and flex the toes. A lot of work in the feet here. So giving them some love. Planting the feet to the outer edges of the mat so that your knees can fall in towards one another. We've done a lot of external rotation of the hips, so just counterbalancing that by letting the hips internally rotate, adjust the feet however you need so that the knees can just completely support each other and it feels effortless to just hang out here. And start to give a little rock from side to side. So let the knees fall out to the right. So left inner thigh is down, right inner thigh is up. And then come through center. So you shouldn't have to move your feet. You just let your knees sway from side to side. Next time your knees are up and over to the left, we'll let them hang out there. If you want a little more, take your left ankle over the top of the outer edge of the right thigh, just to give a little bit of pressure for that internal rotation, stretching through the outside of the hip into that hip flexor area. Uncross the ankle. We'll come back up and over towards the right and hang out there. And if you want a little bit more, you bring that right ankle to the outside of the left thigh. And then gently unravel, coming back through center. Taking any other stretches that feel good for you, wherever you're feeling it. We all have different areas that are tight, not tight, get burnt out or fatigued easily. So take some time here to explore on your mat, stretch it out. You are welcome to continue playing, obviously. If you want to work on a couple more of those toe stands, use the wall, use the blocks. Don't be afraid to use some props as you build strength in the bottoms of the feet and the ankles and the hips. Thank you all so much for joining in for this balance and stability toe stand flow, and I will see you all next time. Namaste.